I think we just start it from here. This is gonna go up on my second channel, just because
Alright.
I don't feel like
Sure
it
thing, boss.
suited the first channel
To go on the
really.
main.
Yeah, because I like to keep everything music related there, pretty much.
Right.
No, I get it.
Let's just begin. I don't really feel like addressing an audience. I just feel like addressing you guys.
Pretend there's nothing recording.
Yeah, so we're talking about why the podcast ended.
Correct.
Indeed.
Before I get into anything, is there anything you guys want to touch on?
Not
Not
really.
really?
I just want to make clear that I'm completely on the fence on why the podcast has ended. I don't know enough information for me to say something actively, so what I'm here for is just to draw my own conclusion and to sort of stop an argument arising if it gets out of hand, because there is some disagreements between the current hosts that I feel are present and might just distract the entire podcast from the actual point of the discussion. So I'm just here to make sure that doesn't happen.
How about we
No, I get it.
How about we talk about your video on X, Ethan?
I'd just like to say misinformed, delusional, there's a reason it's deleted.
Yeah, I was about to touch
But
on
yeah,
the fact that it
now
got
let's get
deleted.
talking.
Now,
Yeah.
though you came to the conclusion that that video was bad, I want to talk about your, I forgot what it's called, Guess Who's Back, or something along those lines.
Yeah?
It's, just being honest, it's terrible. It's so bad. The first 10 seconds, when I initially watched it, I watched the first 10 seconds, and I just clicked off, and I had to watch it later.
What's so wrong with it?
It was just so incredibly cringy and not you. It's like you're trying to play a character of like a cool guy, right? But
I thought that was the cringy one before that.
but you, sorry, what?
Like, my thing was kind of, I've come to the conclusion that pretty much most of my channels relatively cringy. I was trying to buck that.
Who said that?
Ooh, a lot of people.
I think also Ethan sort of feels that it's a bit cringy, that's all.
I don't think it's
I mean,
cringy.
maybe his own impressions of his own channel somewhat differ from yours. I understand that point of view.
I'm not trying
Somewhat.
to stray too far off what I was trying to initially say, but I think the people who say it's cringy are just fucking assholes, Ethan. And they've diluted your train of thought.
Yeah.
And now you're hiding behind a layer of, what would you say? A character, I'd say. Less than a layer
Yeah.
of something. More like a character, because it's incredibly obvious. You force swearing. Like, it's very clear that there's no need to swear to emphasize a point or anything. You're just forcing swearing. You're fidgety. You're stuttering. And that's only in the first 10 seconds. But about 45 seconds in, you can actually see the honest you come out.
I didn't force stuttering.
No, I'm not saying you force stuttering. I'm saying you force playing the cool guy, and as a result, you're stuttering. You don't
Ooh.
force fidgeting.
Yeah, I get it.
But 45 seconds in, roughly, you can see the honest you come back. And when the honest you actually comes back, that's the only point in the video where you're not looking at the camera, where you can't make eye contact with the camera.
Yeah.
I think what I was trying to say is that you're trying to do this I can't find a better word to describe it other than pander to the
I ended.
to this set audience. That a bunch of people have called you cringy and all that, and you're trying to change to impress those people, despite there already being a large follower base of people who enjoy you for who you were before. And I think that's what Ike's trying to address there. That's all.
I ended the whole video saying that I was basing life and by extension the channel too much on other people's opinions in the past. And the whole video was me saying, I'm going to do that thing. And if that includes this channel, so be it.
Can you reiterate what you were just saying then?
If I remember correctly from the video, I said something along the lines of, I'm tired of letting other people dictate how I live my life. I remember changing my content for an audience. You know?
Yeah, I think I somewhat
I'm
understand.
confused on what point you're trying to make. Sorry. Can you?
I think what he's trying to say is that he's sick of people. He said in the video he was sick of people dictating the style of his channel. Like people ask what they want from him, and he gives that to them. Now, what I think is that, well, I honestly can't authenticate this quote because I personally have not watched the video, but if Ethan put that on there, put that at the end of the video, like I think it's kind of ironic.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's why I'm so confused, because
going off of what Ike said, he was pretty much not being himself for the most part of the video.
And then you say you don't want to sick of people dictating how you act and what content you make.
Precisely.
I didn't do it for anyone, really, but I get your point.
Let's move on. Let's move on to what I want to talk about next. Was your personality on the podcast got progressively worse?
Well, I think there was a need for that in the third episode of the podcast where I was the new guest and Caden had been booted. And I feel that it was because there needed to be that sort of personality in the mix to stop it from being just a circle jerk. But I think that it was sort of implemented poorly, and I think Ike could probably be better at explaining this than I would, so I'll just leave it for him.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of what I was just about to say. It's on the tip of my tongue. But the way you went about debating was you were already set on an idea, and it came across like no other possible idea or viewpoint could be correct. And you would commonly put these viewpoints in just unrelated. So just saying totally misinformed things. Like, I can think of an example off the top of my head. In the first episode, which I want to touch on later about the first episode, I should have said I want to touch on later other things about the first episode. But in the first episode, you say, we're talking about PewDiePie, right? And then you say an offhand comment about how PewDiePie is past his prime and is irrelevant, which is just totally misinformed and ignorant. And this isn't one specific thing. That's not one specific thing that happened. That's just a specific.
Like, this isn't
that's
a
recurring. That is a recurring personality trait that happened, which ruined the mood of the podcast. Because
I can also
it would constantly make these conversations just sprouting off about other things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think what Ike's trying to say is that it kind of damages the credibility of the podcast if you're saying just misinformed stuff, and it's just being let fly because we didn't want. Well, I can assume that Ike and Caden didn't want in a conflict within the podcast. So that's what I can gather from that. Am I on the right track? Would you
I'd
say? What do you
say
think?
most of the time it was let fly because we didn't have time to respond to all these things that Ethan would say.
Yeah, well, in that case, perceptions can be very lukewarm.
Because
If you-
it's
if
saying
you understand what I'm saying.
it's like here's an
Hello?
I'm trying to think. Can you hear us, Ethan, properly?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you just blacked out for a second. That's all.
I'm trying to think of an example that doesn't involve something that I clearly disagree with, but this is what I can think of off the top of my head as an example. It's saying it's like using a simile, like, "Oh, that's almost as racist as Donald Trump." Well, what about the people who don't agree with that statement at all? And then the conversation you were having prior to that comment just devolves into a big conversation about how Trump isn't racist. Am I talking ludicrous, or can you understand where I'm coming from? Like,
I understand where you're coming from. I think that while it's fair to have like that sort of opinion on it, I don't think
it's
I
like
don't think that
injecting an
well, saying
opinion
something-
that's injecting something that's completely subjective into
into
discussion.
a conversation that
Nothing.
has virtually nothing
Yeah.
to do with it. I understand that. While I understand that someone they're entitled to have an opinion, but they shouldn't plug it everywhere. And I agree with you here. It's not really a credible practice to just go around plugging opinions into discussions where they don't belong.
Yeah.
I think that if you're having a discussion on a podcast, it's been set. Stick to the discussion and if you're going to make jokes relevant to the discussion. I don't think that making a joke about Donald Trump in a discussion without Donald Trump in it is whatsoever relating to the discussion. Am I speaking
Yeah,
sense?
that makes complete sense. Ethan, do you understand where?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Well, do you have anything further to say about it? Because we kind of want to hear your viewpoint on it.
I mean, yeah, sometimes I said irrelevant shit.
Did you say it for a reason?
Okay.
It's because that's where my train of thought was going. We all really just had a subject, and the topic kind of strayed towards the course of the podcast, and yeah.
So your mind would wander.
Not just mine. Yes, my mind would wander, but I didn't cause the topic straying every single time.
Okay, I think I can probably agree with that. There may have been a slip up or two from other hosts. I personally haven't analysed the podcasts enough to know this, or there've been enough conversations with the two of you together to know this. But yeah, it could possibly not just be a personality trait exclusive to Ethan necessarily, but like I'm not exactly like in the know about Caden's personality, but he could do that as well. I don't have enough information to get a conclusion on that part, is all.
What should we touch on next? The quotes. The irrelevant quotes. I guess that kind of ties into the same thing that we were just saying.
I mean, we got some. I have remembered some quotes that fit the discussion with Ethan, like especially in the first episode we did, with me as a host. But like for an example, when we were discussing channels, I said that my credibility was not very high because of the style of videos that I was making at the time. Ethan used actually a pretty good quote. You don't have to be a chef to know that food's shit. Like, some quotes do mean stuff, but again, I think Ike also has some examples where it does the exact opposite.
I feel like
I remember quoting the prequels or some shit.
majority of the quotes were completely useless and irrelevant to the discussion at hand, and didn't
No arguments there.
elevate the topic at all whatsoever. And I'm just wondering why. Like, I'm gonna ask. I'm not trying to attack you and build a straw man or anything that you're forced into saying something you disagree with, unbeknownst to you. But did you do it because it made you look cool, or it made you look sophisticated, or I genuinely want to know why you said the quotes.
Guys, you realize that this podcast, we're talking about events that happened anywhere from over to around a year ago. And
Yeah.
shit, it's like
Well, I
just
mean,
a...
Well, I mean, we haven't recorded an episode since then, and honestly,
And yet you're asking me
we have
to-
very little proof. We have very little proof to know that a single personality trait has changed. So, like, these are all past problems. They could be resolved for all we know, but like,
No, what I'm
just-
saying is, right now,
Well-
Ike just asked me to explain, assumingly in detail, why I decided to quote something in a podcast.
No, that's a complete mischaracterization of what I just said. I'm asking why you said quotes in general.
That's me, I guess. Like, sometimes...
I'm not sure I follow. Like, as in, is that like a trend that you've followed in the past? Like, do you just spout random quotes into discussion?
John, we went to school together. I feel like you'd remember.
Well, I mean, we went to school together well over about a year ago, and I only.
So now you're not allowed to remember things from a year ago.
It's completely
no.
different, actually.
This is completely different because I've been absent of your company for roughly a year, and so your behavioural patterns.
Whereas
As
your
I said
behavioural
before,
patterns-
I stand by this statement. As I stated before, could have changed since I last talked with you. I mean, I haven't talked to you in a call for months.
How about
So-
this?
My impressions on your let me finish. My impressions on your behavioral patterns are very loose because, frankly, I haven't talked to you for that long. But what I'm saying is that about a year ago, I cannot possibly recall whether you spouted random quotes off in conversation. I believe, I loosely remember the "I don't like sand" quote popping up a few times, but other than that, I have nothing. And, well, Ike seems to remember this trait, and I have very little experience with this trait. So what I think is best is that if it was a trait, explain it. If not, just say that it wasn't a trait. But Ike disagrees, regardless.
I've got something for you guys. I remember a while back, under a year, but barely, I made a video which I talk only Star Wars quotes. Do you remember that?
Yes,
I remember that.
And I distinctly remember using Star Wars quotes in one of the podcast episodes. And
I don't
that,
like sand because it was a running
no,
joke.
it was another one. It was a surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Oh. Well, I can
And-
see how that can easily be plugged into conversation.
But all I'm asking, Ethan, is why did you quote things so religiously
Because that's my
on the
thing.
podcast?
Because that's
No.
your thing.
Why is it your thing? Why? Does it
You're asking me to...
make you feel cool? Does
This-
it make you feel sophisticated? Why? Like, I'm not trying to
You're
sound
asking me to
like
explain. You're asking me to explain personality.
I'm not
traits
trying
that
to sound
I've
like
had
I'm
for as long as I
attacking
can
you,
remember.
but obviously anyone would know why they do something.
This
it's-
isn't a persona. This is like
you're quoting
Okay,
things.
allow
It's
me
not
to-
something that you're psychologically doing without realizing.
Allow me to interject here by pretty much summarizing what Ike's trying to say. I have this sort of same thing. Like on my channel, I play a character. Yes, I play a character because I think this character is much more interesting than real me. I play spooky narrator, skeleton man, whatever you want to call it. And I do it for a reason, because it's more interesting than my actual personality, in my humble opinion. And the channel is oriented in style to fit this character. So that's my reason for why I act like that on my main channel. Ike's question is not just off channel, but on the podcast, on your channel. Why do you interject quotes into like just random discussion? Like, not into the channel, sorry, but like in real life discussion on the podcast or anything. Why do you interject random quotes into discussion? I think my point is a little muddled, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from here.
Sometimes people say things better than you could ever get a point across. Other times, someone says something, this is when it's out of context. Other times, someone says something just so well, it feels good to hear it roll off your own tongue.
That is what we
Okay,
wanted.
thank you.
That's great. That's great. We got an answer. It's a really good
'cause
answer.
You enjoy quoting
All
because it
right.
makes you feel good. Okay, thank you.
I guess so.
Okay, we can move on to the next point, if there is one.
Am I the only subject of this episode?
I wouldn't say so.
I'm not
I
sure.
wouldn't say so.
Perhaps there could be
Alright.
criticism of other hosts, just to make it feel a lot more like it's not just a 2-on-1 attack. I feel that would be fair, don't you, Ike?
Yeah, Ethan, before we go on, because I had one more point that I briefly wanted to touch on about you,
You're right.
specifically. Is there anything you want to criticize Jackarai for?
Not really. No.
Okay, then.
What you
I
laughing
feel this-
for?
Because
Um,
Jack just said
I'm
we should maybe criticize
be
other
fair
hosts,
about it and criticize each other.
but you don't have any criticism.
I'm not saying we should take shots at each other just for that, but I just don't want this episode to feel like it's entirely centered around pointing out faults of mine.
Yeah, well,
Just 'cause
that's why I think
Just
it's...
because I don't have anything to say about you guys doesn't mean.
Yeah, well, we all have faults. I can evidently say that. I think there's faults about me. There are some faults I could say about Ike. But point is, what I think is fair is that it's not just all about, this is the episode where we reveal Ethan's faults. I think this is the episode where we end off, where we are told all about our faults, each and every one of us, and in the future, make an active effort to fix these faults. Because... like, I think that this podcast is just ending off on a really low note. And I think it's, and I hate to sound like an Irish Catholic peasant, but it's time for reflection. Got to reflect on past experience.
I agree.
And sort of build on that for a better tomorrow. Am I making any sense, or am I sounding too much like...
I get
No,
what
I get
you
it.
mean, but when you said I'm trying to remember what you said. I can't believe I've just forgotten it. You said something along the lines of, "This isn't about Ethan's faults," but I'm not trying to be rude, Ethan. But the podcast mainly, the main reason the podcast ended was because a series of your faults.
Which
You've
is
got the point
understandable.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, while it is mainly those faults that are the reason why the podcast is ending, I still feel that it's not the main reason.
What do you believe the main
I think
reason is?
I think this actually my no. I said I still think this is the main reason the podcast ends. No offense, Ethan, but I think another pretty large portion of why the podcast is ending, why it's just so dysfunctional, is because of the somewhat quick leave of Caden.
Yeah.
I think that definitely damaged the podcast a bit to have him go and just replace him with an unknown.
Who proved their worth pretty quickly, I might add.
Thank you. But
do you want to touch on that?
yeah.
Do you want to go more in depth?
Well, I think that it was handled respectively. What I didn't like was that after our first episode with me on the show, is when Caden suddenly somehow fixed his internet, heaven forbid, messaged on the video, just sort of like, fuck
I
you,
remember the
man,
comment.
to me, and it was
With
sort of like
lowercase u.
he was a little bit upset that I was replacing him on the podcast, despite what I thought was a respectful sort of passing. And someone did comment in the comments section of that comment thread where they said, like, man, I remember when everyone on the show was getting along so well. Where did that go? And like at first I thought nothing of it, but then I did realize that like adjusting to a new host can hurt. I mean, a good example of this is the Baited podcast. Right, I had a really strong first set, like Colossal's Crazy, Keemstar, and Tommy C. Two of those hosts left, and the two new hosts were brought into the show.
It was a completely different dynamic.
It's a complete different dynamic that hurts the original sort of status of the show. I think that Caden and I are very much two different minds, and I think that removing him and forcing Ethan to be the shithead hoodlum instead of Caden is was sort of damning the podcast straight away because of these. Because if Caden had remained on the show and I had just waited to be a guest, Ethan would wouldn't have revealed these personality traits. Do you think that's fair for me to say?
Some of the personality traits, yes, but not all of them.
Some, because there are a lot of personality traits that factored into the podcast's failure. But most of those personality traits, I'm going to say most, in inverted commas, but most of those personality traits could have been completely avoided if Caden had remained on the show.
Can I just add something about the personality traits?
You may.
I don't think it's out of the picture at all to suggest that some of the personality traits might have also been caused by what we were talking about earlier. Ethan acting differently to appeal to different people. So those personality traits could have occurred because of judgment. Is that out of the picture?
Agreed. I mean, I'm on the fence about that, to be honest. Could you just run it by me again?
I'm saying Ethan's personality, and as a result his personality traits, have been molded, shaped, and influenced by people in his life that have a negative effect on him. Like he said before, being judged and called cringe would obviously have an effect on how you see the world.
I honestly agree because, like, while the podcast was being recorded, or while it was having its run, Ethan's sub count was growing very, very fast. Like, I believe it was the podcast's lifespan kind of took place in between Ethan's 100 to 300 subs. And I think that maybe molding by his growing audience could factor into why his personality was changing and hence why he sort of changed on the podcast. Do you think that's fair, Ethan?
You guys remember the video that started it all, right? The My New School.
Yes, I remember that video.
Yeah, I briefly
And
remember that
the
video.
thing, what brought the people there was they thought they knew who I was talking about. They knew the situation I was talking about. They knew the place I was talking about. And then slowly but surely, they started dropping off because it wasn't relevant to their gossip thing. And I was desperately trying to recapture an audience that was losing interest.
So
Right.
let me get this right, because that was kind of hard to follow. Are you saying you befriended those people?
Not really, but they got used to me.
So are you
Like,
saying you're trying to act like them to get those people back because they were, although negative viewers, the
They were
core
attention, all
viewers of your videos?
That makes me harken back to a quote of Ethan's: all attention is good attention. So is that what you're trying to apply to that situation? Were you trying to get back attention?
you guys read me like a book. When I what's it called? Like when the blow up started, I was a shitheaded new kid who started a new school and instantly started shit talking everyone there to the internet. And once you took away that kind of outrageous bit, people lost interest. So yeah, you guys are kind of right.
Okay, so it is that mentality of all attention is good attention, and you just wanted to like sort of act upon that saying. Really, you wanted to attract attention.
Bingo.
Attention seeking. I mean, I know it sounds kind of bad when I use the term attention seeking, but that's what it is, plain and simple.
I've come to terms with it. It's attention seeking.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to move on to the next thing
Yeah.
now, or does anybody have something else?
Well, what is the next thing?
Just talking. What am I saying? Let's talking. Jesus Christ. Let's talk about the audio issue we had. Almost, if not
right.
every single episode, the audio would fuck up.
Well, I mean, I've had a terrible history with that, and I remember when I was using a bloody awful microphone. There was I could hear this to this day through the podcast. It makes my teeth grind just thinking about it. But the microphone would pick up the air conditioning in the background, and it would sort of it'd be really distracting noise. And that's like the only thing I can point out on my end about the audio. Other than that, I didn't make it available for days, and I believe Ike was not very happy with that, or you were not very happy with that for quite a bit.
I'd say it's understandable to not be able to get it for a couple to a few days, just because of how terrible Australian internet is, and the fact that I ask you to export it out as a WAV file, so therefore the size is in the hundreds of megabytes. So I think, yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah, but I think it was a combination of technical difficulties
and what? Sorry.
Sheer lack of. I think it was a combination of technical difficulties and just sheer no motivation. I feel that I didn't, because I was like, oh yeah, this is my first time. I didn't think of it seriously. I didn't know that you took it that seriously. So it's just like, oh yeah, he'll be fine with the audio coming in late a bit. And so that definitely was not a major contributing factor, but it was definitely a factor nonetheless. And I feel that I had to admit that and get that off my chest.
I'd like to say one thing.
You may.
So, Ike.
Yeah.
How's this current episode, how's it going to be recorded and then exported for YouTube?
I'm just recording through OBS. I'm not.
So he's just getting the audio from your microphone and my microphone from Discord. He's going to cut it from the beginning to the end, pretty much. So he's recording this whole thing right now. That's all. Ike, do you have any issues about Ethan's audio? I know for a fact from
Guys,
chatting in
what I'm
private-
wanted to get back to is the whole everyone sends their audio individually. It just thinking about it now in hindsight was a bit inefficient considering how quickly we're getting it done now.
Well, do remember that Ike didn't have access to this software roughly a year ago. I honestly don't know if he had OBS back when we first started it. I think he wanted to keep a microphone quality because call quality is absolutely dreadful. I think we can all agree on that.
I remember
And
you saying
Ike wanted it to sort of sound consistent rather than just have like one guy who sounds completely in quality and the other two sound like they're gargling their microphones.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. It wasn't consistent because on one hand we had Ike with a studio quality type microphone, and on the other hand we had me with what was basically the USB equivalent of an Xbox headset.
Yes, but if you recorded the audio, guaranteed it. If you look back at older episodes compared to this one, you'll be able to clearly see a difference between this
Mic quality, yeah.
And the
Because
older ones.
like as much as you say it was like Xbox headset levels of bad, your mic quality wasn't all that bad. It was passable at the worst.
Yeah, it gets the job done the same way Xbox mics do.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it still sounded consistent with Ike's microphone. I mean, take for instance, I hate to keep using this as a reference point, but bait it again. Colossal's Crazy uses a laptop microphone, and Keemstar uses a studio quality microphone. Tommy C uses a studio quality microphone. There is not really a noticeable change.
Does Clown actually use a laptop microphone through the whole thing?
Yes, he does. He used the laptop microphone for the podcast, and he uses it currently for streams and all that, and for video recording. You can hear it.
I didn't even know.
Quality. But what I wanted to lead to is that not necessarily the quality of voice, but rather background noises, which was a recurring dislike of Ike's. So I recall in a video call we had about a week ago or something, he brought up the point where in backgrounds of your audio, Ethan, you would feel it would be fine to search the web or something while in discussion, or use your laptop. I'm not sure what you were doing, but you could hear the tapping of the keyboard, and that bothered Ike a little bit. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, we all pulled up sites and stuff for reference in episodes of the podcast. I remember lines not just by me but by others, such things like, "Oh, I'm just checking his channel now," stuff like that.
No, but this was a constant browsing of the web, completely unrelated.
Yeah, my mind would want extension, my browsing. So you do have a point.
I think I was going to comment on something that you said, Jack, but I can't remember.
Remember what it was?
It was something, I think it might have been something to do... It was something to do with a reason why I wanted to record. Yeah, it must have been. Okay, so... The thing about background noise is that we maybe could have... The reason we couldn't use Skype because that was blocked on the laptop you were using, Ethan. We couldn't use Discord because that was blocked.
Because it was also blocked.
We couldn't use anything except Google Hangouts.
And even that, if Ethan had continued to use that laptop, that eventually was blocked. And so, I feel that one of the damning parts of the podcast was Ethan's using a rental laptop that had safe locks in place to stop him from downloading some software that was not acceptable or something that was inappropriate. But I think that was definitely something that would have prevented the podcast in the future.
Yeah,
and
I
think
completely
what
agree with
could
that.
have been done to avoid was that, honestly, like Ethan's using his phone now. If we had this OBS software accessible, we should have ditched the laptop and used the phone or another device.
I had
possible.
OBS
I don't know.
accessible, right? The thing is, we didn't have Discord accessible, and Discord, one of its really good features is that it filters your audio, so it determines an input sensitivity, right? So
Yes.
you see when we're in this call right now, and when there's a green ring around when you're talking, that's when your audio is being transmitted. So though you may hear some background noise, like a parent yelling or something, right? And if the green ring doesn't come around, then that means that sound didn't get transmitted. And you can automatically, you can set a input sensitivity. You can set a
Agreed.
manual input sensitivity, so when something's not higher than a certain decibel, it doesn't transmit.
Why did I say agreed to that? Sorry, just pointing that out. Why did I say? Today I'm going to tell you about how the Discord mic works. I agree. Sorry, I just found that really stupid. I had to address that before someone in the comments did.
I get it.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's been reference enough. Anything else we got?
Let's talk about your audio stopping recording completely, Ethan. We re-recorded the first episode 5 times.
Jesus Christ.
I think it was close to the 3 or 4, but wait, was it?
If you go, the episodes have been removed from YouTube, but if I was obviously doing research before this, not to build up a big list of things I could attack you for, but to have talking points. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. But I was doing research, and I say 3 times, and then Caden and Brad both jump in and correct me and say it's 5 times. So maybe it's 3 or 4. That's what you say, 3 or 4, and then they say
Again,
5.
it's coming from Caden and Brad.
We're talking about a guest star and the least active of our hosts.
I mean, that doesn't...
Honestly, I don't think those two could count to fucking 30. I don't think their credibility...
No,
really...
but that doesn't
that
doesn't decredit what they just said, because it's the guest host doesn't mean what he just said. You can't just decredit it because of that.
Understandable, but remember that you're... I know this without a doubt, even though not having anything to back it up. You're much more perceptive than the other two. So I think yours, if you're thinking of like 3 or 4 recordings, would be much more accurate than 5.
Yeah, how about then, if we can't agree on this, then we'll just say it's 3. The lowest number given. Give you the benefit of the doubt.
It's still anywhere from 4 to 2 more times than we should have had to record it. And I take responsibility for that.
Do you know why
Yeah.
it stopped recording? Because my only guess is you've been browsing the web and you've pressed a key that stops the recording.
No, what happened is the microphone I was using, USB equivalent of an Xbox microphone, it was a Logitech clusterfuck or something. And it was loose on the USB port. And it came out, that stopped recording. I wasn't too familiar with Audacity, and I couldn't get back into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see the reasoning behind that. Logitech's have terrible microphones, but yeah.
And Caden never sent his audio for the
Yeah.
original third episode, which was the one we always refer to as Spastic.
Was I aware of this?
Yeah, you were.
The one who dubbed it.
Oh,
You were,
true. My bad.
You were one of. Wow, voice cracked. You were
No.
on a discussion in the third episode. It's where we had all the hosts of the Panda podcast.
Oh, I remember that.
And
The posse cut, or whatever.
yeah. So he never sent his audio for that, which halted the podcast for about 2 months, I'd say, before you and I both decided to kick him.
We still thought he was going to send.
Still saw. I can't speak properly. Sorry.
The 2 months.
Still
That was
thought what? Sorry, cut out for me.
the 2 months was when we kept thinking he was going to send it. Kept pressing him. You kept checking his Facebook online status.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I checked it every day. And then when I
India decided
found
it'd be a
out
great idea.
the real reason why he didn't send it, which do you know, Ethan?
Was it? He'd mentioned his laptop breaking, but was that an excuse or?
No, I'm gonna censor
wasn't
this,
an
but
excuse.
I'm gonna censor what it was for. But he got it. He got his laptop. I guess all of his devices taken away because he got caught watching porn or something. Which is
What the fuck? No, I get it.
yeah. So that's all.
It was beyond his uncensored from here. It was beyond his.
Yeah.
It was beyond his what? Sorry? He
Control.
blanked out for me. Beyond his control, right? Because it's zooming out a bit for me. But anyway. Yeah, it was sort of beyond his control, but I think he should have been front up about it, honestly.
It wouldn't have changed.
But for those who are listening, you very few, if you want to know the reason, honestly, take a guess. It's not that hard. But anyway, it's like it was out of his hands. What I think he should have done was he should have told you front up.
Yeah. By the way, if anybody
device?
comments what it was or what they think it was and it's correct. Actually, if anybody comments any prediction, just so it doesn't make it obvious what it was, because if I only delete the comments of the people who guess correct, then it's going to become obvious.
They'll be screaming Hazana in the highest.
Yeah, I'm gonna
We could've-
delete all comments that are related to guessing why
Caden's kick.
he got kicked. But
Yeah,
We could have just said that he got his devices taken.
that's it. Just
No
leave
reason
it at that.
behind it. No reasoning behind it.
let's just.
Well, there's definitely
Let's just-
reasoning, but
yeah,
we're just
let's
going to
just-
leave.
I think we should stop.
We'll leave it at that. I think that now is a good time to move on to any other topics we have. Do we have any more topics?
Nothing off the top of my head.
Then I have nothing else to say because honestly, I thought we had something great. It's a damn shame it's ending, but at least we're ending it on a high note. That's all I really had to offer. What about you,
Yeah.
Ethan? Do you have any criticisms? Any closing words?
I remember we're back with when the podcast was in this whole heyday, Apex type thing. I remember just calling to talk about it or calling to record. I remember talking till we'd lose track of time, that kind of thing. It's the kind of thing that can give someone nostalgia and stuff. And kind of got that today, but I understand why things have to end. But shit, give it a while. I'd be open to a follow-up, see how everyone's going. You know?
I too feel that a second chance would be wise to revisit because I think we're at the cusp of something here. I see that there is definitely, there is a pretty strong chance that we're never going to record another episode because of just so many disagreements. But I think that those disagreements, somewhat resolved today, are kind of a chance. I think that it's not completely out of the realm of possibility.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
I think that after when the lights have dimmed and the curtains fallen over the stage, I think it's time we revisited this. And honestly, this may not be the end, but if it is, we went out on a high note, and I'm happy that we did that.
I agree. We're all headed in creative directions. That's the thing. Like, you've got your album coming, right?
Yep.
Then John's going into the voice acting and his narrations.
Um,
Don't know. And I don't know, I guess I'll see where Quora takes me.
one more thing I
Indeed.
wanna comment on, in regards to
Mhm.
content. Ethan, you need to stop. This is being as genuine as I can be. Ethan, you need to stop surrounding yourself with fucking idiots.
Yes,
Honestly,
man.
they're fucking idiots. Complete fucking delusional idiots who don't know what they're talking about. Because
Yeah, right.
because your content is some of the most creative and hilarious content when you make it right.
I agree. I
the-
second this. I think that.
What was it called?
Oh, sorry, you keep going.
Suburban rap tunes for kids, hilarious.
Yeah.
The school speech we worked on together, hilarious.
Yeah. That one was on you, to tell the truth.
But also
I've-
the SoundCloud documentary, hilarious.
Yeah, I remember you saying you liked that one.
They're all creative, and when I look at your new uploads, your three newest, just being honest, the Guess Who's Back,
I got rid of...
shit. I know.
What were the other two shits?
The old diss track unreleased and the Last Jedi review or something like that.
Yeah, both times I was kind of trying...
Incredibly weak uploads, and I think you know it as well. And I think you know you can produce.
I admitted
way
that
better content.
back. I called them weak uploads.
Yeah.
I think that there's the old diss track unreleased is just a re-upload of something that was unreleased for a reason.
Agreed.
I think that my thoughts on the Last Jedi spoilers thing was completely unnecessary. Like, it was kind of just a filler video, in my opinion. And Guess Who's Back, as what Ike said, I'm going to say my own mind on it. I did watch it, and it's steaming crap. But
Ouch.
looking back at so many of your creative uploads, like How to Become a Musical Star, Life After SoundCloud, a mockumentary, and Clean Rap Tunes for Suburban Kids, they're great uploads. I really enjoyed those videos. And honestly, I think that you should use them as foundations for if you want to continue with this uploading, with content creating. And I think that you should follow the set standards of these videos because, well, with these current uploads, up against the competition of your old uploads, you're not holding up so well. And I think
Yeah,
your
I agree.
content has definitely dipped. It was a very clear, edited, written style. It was professional. I'd say that far. It's professional.
You mean the new stuff?
Yeah, not the new stuff, the old stuff. I think this new stuff is just a whole level of unprofessionalism that I think you can easily change if you
All
just started giving a
Yeah.
toss and surrounding. But
I agree.
surrounding yourself in that creative medium is also another nail in the coffin. I think it really helps the creative community and put your ideas forward and got them touched up on, and you'd be great. Like, I've been opening up my creative mediums recently from talks with not only Ike, but hell, I've been watching lots of entertainment. I've been speaking with many of these creative minds on Twitter. Colossal is Crazy, Dull Hunty, J.R. Rizzo, many other really creative people on Twitter and other communities. And it's definitely helped me to find that creative source. And I am trying to put out something that I think is amazing. And I think that would really work for you too. I think it's great.
We've all got visions. Between the three of us, there's different levels of success in getting those visions.
I think you cut out or something.
You cut out and it sounded like it.
Sorry. Well, yeah, what I'm trying to say is all three of us, we've got visions, something, and we've all had varying levels of success in how those visions get put out there.
And recognized.
Yeah.
I think
that's a fair statement. And honestly, like at the end of this, I think we're drawing to the end of this episode.
Yeah.
I honestly wish you the best of luck. I wish you both the best of luck because I know for a fact that Ike's having trouble with that creative medium at the moment because of real life stuff that's getting in the way. But honestly, I wish you guys luck. And if you don't think that you, it's a shame, but I respect that decision nonetheless because I went through that phase myself. And I think that all of us have very different styles of creativity. I think that's what made this podcast so great. And I think that if we can revisit this after we've opened up those creative mediums, I think we have a foundation to build something special here.
Agreed.
And that's all I have to say about it. Should we close up this episode?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, we're ending on
I think that's a conclusive.
We're ending on a good note.
That's a great note to end on. Honestly, if you are listening to this, Ike's audience, my audience, Ethan's audience, anyone who's been watching episode 1 or watching the 3 episodes we put out, thank you, because honestly, like there would be no drive if no one was watching this garbage.
Yeah, like I think I said that on a song. Like, is an album good if, or whatever the line was?
Sorry, you kind of cut out for me, Ethan. Can you repeat what you said?
One of your, I think one of your 3 recent songs, it was like something about is an album good if no one hears it.
And I think
I forgot what the line was.
What's the point of dropping an album if nobody cares?
I think that's
the same with this.
That can be applied here. If no one cared about I wouldn't have even been interested in it to begin with. It probably wouldn't have gone past episode 1. And yeah, just got to say my thanks personally because I only got a light taste of that sort of interest in the podcast from the first episode. But I think that if you guys want more, yell it to the rooftops. We'll hear you, and we'll see if it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because despite what it may sound like, we really did want this to work, and we want it to work.
I agree completely.
I feel like we're going places just slowly, or at least there's potential for that. I don't know, like what's happening with Quora, it's starting to resemble a following. I reckon, I know we build a following, we find... Maybe this can be revisited.
Maybe one more thing I'd like to end on is that it should be more laid back and relaxed in the way of recording. We just hop on Discord and I screen record and we don't worry about quality too much because if the discussion is strong enough, If the discussion is strong enough, then it won't matter how good the audio quality
Yeah.
is.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
And with that, I think we end it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
For real,
well,
guys.
until you hear from us again.
Yeah.
Nobody
Jack Mockery.
knows how to end it. This is so fucking awkward.
Whose job is it to end
No
it?
one knows. What do we say? That's the end.
You know what? I'll bloody end
Okay,
it.
go ahead.
This has
Yeah, let
been
John do
Go
it.
ahead.
This has been, well, you know him, EJ the Rogue, like a sign, and the normie Jack Mockery.
Yes.
And thank you.
Peace, guys.
Thank you guys for listening. You have a good one.